Emily Hooper, and before I start my presentation on celiac disease, I first want y'all to do something for me. I want you to imagine that you haven't eaten all day and that you're really hungry, and so you walk into a restaurant and you can smell the bread and you can see everyone eating pasta around you and the chocolate cake and things like that. And you sit down to dinner and you can't eat any of it. That is what it's like for some people when we have celiac disease. Celiac disease means that you have to eat a gluten-free diet, and everything that you can eat is usually labeled with something that looks like this. Celiac disease is a genetic disease, and it causes the microvilli in your intestines to blunt, which means that you can't absorb the nutrients you need. So whenever you eat anything from bread to barley to anything like that, it's going to cause a problem and cause problems with your digestion. Celiac disease affects 1 in every 133 people in the United States, so it is becoming more and more common. And a lot of the reason for this is because it is a genetic disease, and doctors are getting a lot better at diagnosing it. They have blood tests and stuff like that to diagnose it. There is a difference between a person with celiac disease and a person with just gluten intolerance. Celiac disease is a disease. You cannot outgrow it. Since it's an autoimmune disorder, you're born with it and then something sets off your symptoms. Whereas gluten intolerance is just a food allergy. You can eat it and it makes your stomach hurt, but there are no long-term effects like if you had celiac disease. So gluten is a mixture of proteins and grains and barleys and things like that. So you have to be especially careful when you're eating. And then there is a difference between glucose and gluten. Glucose is sugar, of course. You cannot live without sugars, but you can live without gluten since it's just a certain protein. So a lot of the things when I was diagnosed with celiac disease 2 years ago that I can't eat that I love are hamburgers, of course. Twizzlers actually have wheat in them. Soy sauce is one, so a lot of Asian foods and sushi, you have to be really careful of what you wouldn't think about, and pastas. Other things that you have to worry about are not just things that you eat. Cat food, when I was first diagnosed, I went to the dietitianist, and she told me that I couldn't even step on cat food. I had to be careful of what I touched. And then there's envelopes. When you lick an envelope, we can't do that. It has wheat, gluten products in it. And then shampoos, makeup, anything, lotions, I have to buy all gluten-free and be really careful of what I put on my body. So determining your dieting fate, when you're first diagnosed, it's really overwhelming. They give you a speech of things that include avoid, don't, and can't, of all these things that you can't do or eat. So some of the symptoms that I suffered from were abdominal cramping, I was tired all the time, mouth ulcers, depression, digestive issues, and then dental enamel. I've always had spots on my teeth, and we could never figure out what it came from. So when I found out that I had celiac disease, they told me that that was one of the symptoms, and then it kind of all made sense. So a lot of things really added up for me that I had just been having problems with, and once I started to eat a gluten-free diet, then those things kind of got under control. But there are varying forms of severity in celiac disease. People can suffer just from stomach aches like I do, or some people throw up or get rashes immediately after they eat gluten. So this is why it's become so hard to diagnose, and a lot of times it's a silent disease. So that's why people sometimes have it and don't even know they have it. I had a friend whose dad was sick for years, and he got really skinny and his teeth rotted, and they couldn't figure out what had happened. And they thought that it was stress because his father had just passed away, and it ended up being celiac disease. And now that he eats a gluten-free diet, he's gained his weight back, and he just feels a lot better. So it can be tricky to diagnose. My personal struggles with celiac disease have really just been things on the everyday basis. I don't know what this is doing. So eating out is really hard. I was 16 when I was diagnosed, and you can't go out and eat pizza with your friends, and they don't understand why you can't do that. They kind of think you're being high maintenance, and it is a disease, so you do have to obey it. And then eating at school, there's nothing in the cafeteria that I can eat, except for maybe a bag of chips. So always planning ahead and making sure that I'm going to have lunch is a big deal. And then just dealing with change. I know my attitude was not probably the best when I was first diagnosed. I was a little bitter towards it all and wasn't very happy that I could no longer eat what all my friends were eating. So just learning that I was going to have to do this for the rest of my life, and that I needed to accept it is a big part of learning to live gluten-free. And then just staying healthy, managing my stress levels, and making sure that I am sticking to a truly gluten-free diet is something that you have to struggle with. And then just learning to live with celiac disease. Like I said, when you're diagnosed, it's very overwhelming. But there are a lot of products that you can eat to satisfy your gluten cravings, so to speak. So there's products such as Udi bread, which is really good, and there are some baking items at Central Market and things like that. But it is still very difficult, even with the products that they do offer, because a lot of people just don't understand, because it is just kind of coming about. So in my experience, I just need to be patient. I need to be patient with others who don't understand, and I need people to be patient with me who don't understand, because it is a way of living, and it is a big change that you have to deal with. And then planning ahead is a big way that I deal with it. Whenever I go to camp or I go on a field hockey trip or something like that, I always have to make sure that I'm going to have meals every day for each meal. And so you really have to rely on yourself. It kind of makes you real organized when you first get it. And then raising awareness. I really think that raising awareness is going to be the best way to help people with celiac disease, because it is something that you can't outgrow and you're going to have to deal with it. You need people to know how you struggle so that you don't feel so alone in the whole situation. I know maybe only one or two of my friends really understand and don't just find it annoying that I can't eat a lot of things. So already in states in like Illinois, North Carolina, and California, they're dedicating months to raising awareness, and it's really proven to be good for their business and for just the people in their society that do have celiac disease. So you just have to, if we can get people such as the school cafeteria and restaurants around your neighborhoods and things like that to incorporate anything gluten-free, is going to really help those people with celiac disease just to live an easier life, because life is hard enough without having to think about everything that you put in your mouth and everything that you touch and things like that. So we need to, part of my speech is I just want to help raise awareness so that people know that celiac is a disease and it's not just trendy, it's something that is necessary. So thank you.